and we want to welcome them back to the show. We mentioned before that Matt Asner and Navah Paskowitz. Look!
Here they are.
I won't be smiling much during this show.
I can't see Matt. You take down that chair.
I'm an angry panda.
You're an angry panda. Is this in?
Oh, there we are.
Is this in relation to the new center dog, the angry panda, or this has nothing to do with that?
No, he's angry, Matt, who I forced this panda outfit on.
I'll tell you what.
Certainly, we're paying homage to our new
puppy
family friend.
Oh, yeah, you have a new puppy.
We do.
Yes.
Let's hear about the new puppy, Panda Rose, right?
Wonderful. Yeah. She's wonderful.
She's a sheepadoodle, and she's my new best friend.
Oh,
yes.
but she's still Willie and Eddie are still a little nervous around her because she's in that nippy stage,
right?
And she's a big dog. I mean, the mom was 90 pounds and the dad was 120 pounds, so she's going to be a big sheepdog.
Okay, great.
And she looks like a panda.
Yeah, she totally.
She's going to grow into her paws.
Right. And are you doing dog training?
We are, not as much as we should, but we just started. So we should have started about a month ago. We're a month behind.
But I've become quite a good dog trainer. She's definitely.
So the trainer has to undo all the wrong training that you did. She has to start from, because the main thing is that she's going to be at the center every day. She's not going to be a family pet. And it's very important that she is, and that's why we picked this particular breed who works, sheepadoodles work with medically fragile children in the hospital. And even though they're big, they're called gentle giants, so they're very, and they're hypoallergenic.
At some point, she's supposed to slow down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, well, after the puppy years, it takes a while.
Now, Navah, who are you today?
I'm a DC comic character named Kaitana. You're a horse pizzazz. Zaytana.
Okay.
And who are you, Nancy?
I'm Moira from Schitt's Creek.
And I'm David or Johnny. We're Schitt's Creek.
I recognize the eyebrows.
Yes.
And I this morning I thought, I didn't tell you who we were going to be, and I thought, what if they are also Johnny and Moira? And I thought I'm not going to say anything just in case that is the kismet. But honestly, you guys could rock this costume thing.
Wow. I think so. Well, I'll tell you something. When I've gone, I thought maybe you were going for Groucho Marx.
I know it's a fine line. It's a fine line.
Yeah,
but I've got my. You can't see, but I've got my my bow tie here. Oh, yeah. That's my. No, I'm Johnny Rose. Johnny Rose.
And I can see the stubble. I noticed.
Yeah, I got a little bit trying. So anyway, we didn't even properly introduce you. We've got Matt Asner and Navah Paskowitz-Asner from the Ed Asner Family Center that are here with us. And I love that you guys are becoming a Halloween tradition for us now. You guys were so great last year. And of course, we just love you guys anyway because you're regulars here and because you're fabulous, but we love the Ed Asner Family Center too. And you guys have something, we've been talking about it all week long, but I want to get more specific about it because you guys have something fabulous happening tomorrow night for the autism community. So tell us all about it.
Well, our music director, Judy, is really spearheading it because she just has a magic about her with the kids. She's an incredible singer. She can sing any Disney song, so the kids love her. So she's leading. Put your hat back on. She's leading a sing along, and we're all gonna look at each other's costumes, and Judy's gonna interact with the kids and have them sing some spooky songs with her, and I'm forcing Matt in another costume. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. It's from 5 to 6 tomorrow live. And you have to sign in with Shelby and
so details on how they sign up, Navah?
Yeah, they can either go on Facebook and do it there, I think, right?
Yeah, but it's actually better if they reach out to Shelby at teafc.org.
Okay. So Shelby at the Ed Asner Family Center, but just the, because I've never done it to TE. Tell us again what it is.
We decided to get a little shorter email address because Ed Asner Family Center is like really long. So it's Shelby at teafc.org.
Okay. And Traven, if there's any way you can get that up on the screen, that would be great. And by the way, that's the same email that you guys would need to reach out to register for any of the events that are happening at the Ed Asner Family Center. And there are so many of them. My favorite, and Nancy, I don't know if Wyatt has been to this yet, but and it's terrible. I shouldn't say my favorite because you guys have so many great things going on. But one that I've been particularly promoting to people, because I think it's in a space that I just don't think anybody else is doing what you guys are doing, is the movie chats with Chelsea. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that, you guys.
Well,
do you want me to? You're looking at me. I can't.
Go ahead,
my wig is going to fall off if I look too much to the right. Well, I mean, we had the mental health director, Krissa, who you all know, Krissa Saad. She and I, we felt that there were a lot of autistic social clubs. But I think the thing that made our social club unique is that we have a autistic individual who helps us create each event organically, who helps us not just create, but she reaches out to her community. It's very much created by our participants because, there are little subtle things that I've done a million times at support groups that Chelsea just came in and said, oh, you know what, those fluorescent lightings are really disturbing to us. So let's just use mood lighting. And you can't have events like that unless you have autistic individuals creating and co-running these events. So we had just started this wonderful, successful social club with Chris and I and Chelsea. And then the pandemic hit. So it was really Chelsea's idea that the kids who are really struggling, the young adults and adults with autism, wanted to have this social interaction. She is a movie buff. They watch a movie every week and then they discuss it. But it's not just about the movie. It's about having this social interaction, this wonderful friendships that they're all creating. And some kids start off a little shy and they turn their video off and they just listen. And then eventually they're welcomed in. Now we're going to branch out in November and December. I'm working with Kathy Gott and Judy Bennett. We're going to take the next step in the social club, and inspired by Love on the Spectrum, we're going to have dating support. We're going to have our therapists learn. Right now, our therapists in the center are learning the ability to not just do these social groups, but also if somebody wants to take the next step. And I don't know if you've seen the movie, but how they have like an actual dating consultant and somebody who can help them from the inception of maybe going on a site or an app all the way to having a relationship and just needing a little support for things that we all need support for. But when you're an autistic individual, you need that extra bit of support. So because there are so many horror stories we're hearing when I'm forming this committee, there's so many horror stories of autistic individuals being really abused and taken advantage of, and really horrible stories from going on conventional dating apps.
Well, and it could also be incredible on its own. It could just be incredibly anxiety producing for anyone, but certainly for people on the spectrum. So it's a great thing that I think we're looking forward to being able to offer.
Absolutely, and so we're gonna be talking about that and hopefully having it debuting at the end of November, and more information to come with that. But if you want more information, if you want to be on our we're doing a data collection kind of thing right now to see what kids, and I call everyone kids, what they're interested in. We're trying to get more girls because we have a very obviously a big male ratio. But you can reach out to me, Navah and I don't have the new email address, so I'm still Navah at edasnerfamilycenter.org. And I'll make sure to fill you in on up to date about Love on the Spectrum at the Ed Asner Family Center.
Wonderful, wonderful. I got to say, Navah, not to change the subject, but when you first came on, I thought you were Gloria Steinem.
Oh,
And you would make a great Gloria Steinem. And anytime we should do like all of the women's rights movement, because I can do a mean Bella Abzug.
I bet you could, Shannon.
You've seen me do it before.
I was a fortune teller and I needed a ball.
Oh no! Wow. And Nancy, which women rights person would you want to be? You could be like so many of them because you're like a Barbie. We could put a different wig on you and you could be any of them. But who would you want to be?
I don't know. I could be the arch enemy. I could be Phyllis Schlafly.
I did think of that, right?
Yeah.
But
I don't know if anybody here that's watching the show watched the series that was on with all its rights. What was the name of that series, Shannon?
I think it was Mrs. America. I loved it.
America. I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love doing that with my eyebrows.
Oh.
So good. Now I'm doing
Betty for Dan too, Shannon.
Well, I lose a little bit more weight. Maybe I could be Betty Friedan, but right now I'm Bella Abzug. And my dad knew Bella Abzug, so like she was a friend of the family. So a lot of people, until that show came back out, you and I used to talk all the time, Nancy, because you had been back east during a time, and I would put on a hat. Whenever I wear a hat, I always say I'm doing my Bella Abzug, and Nancy's one of the only people who understood that. But then now that series, I say it, and people go, "Oh, Bella Abzug." Anyway,
I can use the reference.
Yeah, but you also you lived a little bit back east for a while, didn't you?
I didn't live back east, but you got to understand my family. Well, mom and my dad were incredibly politically active when I was growing up. So I certainly was well educated in that world. So I knew who Bella Abzug was, certainly.
Yeah. So. It was a time. It was a time. And of course, I had shared this that when Kamala got the nomination for vice president, that I remember watching the convention many, many, many years ago. I was like 10 years old, and there was a woman on the screen, and she was running for president and getting votes at the convention. And she was a Black woman. It was Shirley Chisholm. And I was 10, and I looked at the screen and I said to my dad, I said, "Who's that?" And he said, "That's Shirley Chisholm, and she's running for president." I still get goosebumps. And so I was 10, and the impression that made on me in that moment, I have to be honest. I was like, well, that means that at least Black women can run for president. I had never seen a white woman run for president, but I knew that Black women could run for president. And I've shared before that because of that, I wanted to grow up to be a Black woman. I was like, they must have more rights. It was upside down. I was 10. I had no idea. But it's interesting to me that when a child gets introduced to the concept of they put that into everything.
Yeah.
And I love that Whoopi Goldberg was watching Star Trek, and she was like, well, Lieutenant Uhura is the person who's the head of communication.
Well,
I like the future.
I think Star Trek was pioneering in that regard, and in so many other ways.
And multicultural.
Yeah, in so many other ways.
Yeah, taking us to the future. So anyway,
don't get me started about Star Trek.
I know. Don't get him started for sure.
Please, we share this, and you have artwork in your office that is signed by Shatner. Yes.
I have an 8x10 of him as Kirk in my office, but it's funny because when I met Navah, one of the first questions I asked her was, "Do you like Star Trek?" And she goes, "Oh, I love Star Trek." So it was kismet.
There you go.
That was it.
It was meant to be.
That was it. Going back to your the genetic study. Have you seen some of Jill Escher's work on genetic studies? It's fascinating. It's mostly about in utero, the causes in utero that can be connected to autism. But
we'll have to look that up.
Jill, she was the former past president of Autism Society of San Francisco. And now she and I are together with a lot of very, very intelligent people. We're doing a fire safety committee with many, many different organizations and people who are so greatly affected by what happened to Feta and her son Mohammed, and how just the fact that Mohammed was on the second floor and he was 6'3" and 250 pounds, would it have made a difference if he was on the fourth floor? And there's so many things that we are discussing and trying to figure out, and then each organization and each community is then going to kind of present that to their own community. How can we help our local community? We're connecting with firehouses near the center, and we have a wonderful committee at the center. But it affected me so deeply. And
would you just give us a brief background on that?
Yeah, we covered it on the show, but people may not have watched.
Well, Feta Almighty, Al-Malidi, we call her Almighty because that's the name of the
that's actually what
committee.
That's what I called her when I first met her.
Right. How do you pronounce it properly?
It's Al-Malidi.
Al-Malidi, Feta Al-Malidi, and she was an incredible activist. She spearheaded a lot of the insurance reforms for autistic individuals and their families.
She's just certainly an icon in California activism.
And she had a beautiful son who was nonverbal, had a lot of behaviors. He lived at home with her. She was a single mom. And at the time, her sister and her sister's daughter were staying with them. Feta and her son were upstairs in the upstairs bedrooms, and the sister and her daughter were downstairs. And, I won't get into the details of it, but a fire broke out in their house and everyone was able to get out except for Mohammed, who was terrified and upstairs and wouldn't leave his room. And so Feta was being physically held back outside, broke free, went up and wouldn't leave him. And, it's the most horrible thing that I had ever personally heard or experienced, because we all think as moms, who could stop you if you're outside and the house is burning? I would have done the same thing, but there's so many things that could have been done to prevent it. No fault to Feta, but just the fact that we are who we are, and we can make a difference in another, even if it's just one other family. It's really my mission to do as much as I personally can to get the word out and explain in Feta and Mohammed's honor, what could have been done. Mohammed was terrified of the fire alarm, so he would break every one that she would bring in. So can we make a fire alarm that doesn't look like a fire alarm? Can we have a safety orange sticker on certain families' doors or windows that say this is a house that has a severe nonverbal child? And there are so many things that we as a team in this fire safety committee are working on, so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Want to talk about the VR a little bit?
I was just going to say, I think it's important to establish that we all make mistakes, and especially in this area, and it forced us as a family to kind of look at ourselves and say, are we prepared? And certainly we're not.
No, we're definitely not prepared.
We'll be the first people to stand up and say we've never done a fire alarm in our house. We've never done a fire drill in our house, and that could have helped. I'll be the first one to say that some of our fire alarms are not working because we took the batteries out because it wasn't. Yeah. So it's just simple stuff like that, and then it's also utilizing today's technology to kind of get through to people, especially to people on the spectrum, and desensitize them to an emergency situation. We're talking with a couple of companies. One specifically does VR and augmented reality. And so we're talking about the possibility of doing a kind of a sensory episode of a fire in a house and what happens, what takes place. And,
in school,
that's the
school
goal.
setting.
That's the goal.
If you're at a campground,
all over.
The other day I was alone with Eddie and I was cooking something and my oven just lit on fire. And I don't know if it's PTSD from Feta or whatever, But my first instinct was to just run out of the house. And I literally had a fire going on. I mean, I had to deal with this fire. But I mean, it's in that moment, all reason goes out the window. So the concept that you have a child who is a giant boy like Muhammad was, of course he's going to freeze, you know. So Muhammad, who was very, very adept at computers, he was very into video games and stuff like that. If he could have had this experience where he put on something, and he would use that, if he could put on something and see the experience of somebody, his avatar or something, explaining to him what happens during this thing, and it's just another piece to be able to be prepared in a situation like this, so this doesn't happen again.
No one thinks it's ever going to happen to them, and hopefully it won't. And chances are it won't. But if it does, this might give you the fighting chance of getting through it, with the least amount of damage. And I think it's
what an important mission, and what a wonderful way to pay tribute to Feta and her work. And I'm sure that she is smiling at you guys from the other side and appreciative that you're doing that. I know this has just rocked everyone in the autism community, but you were friends with her. You knew this family firsthand.
Very much. I spoke to her the day before it happened because she was on top of the world. She was going through a horrible divorce. I don't know if they were formally divorced. I don't think so. But she had been married for many, many decades. And she was on the other side. She had just started this amazing podcast with her best friend called The Scoop. Mm-hmm. And it was so cute. And Feta was amazing on this show. I mean, she really was just so down to earth and so raw and so real. And she was really excited about the show. And she got in touch with me and she's like, I want you to be on the show. I want, and the next day this happened. And I'm still, every time I think about it, I just can't accept it because she was such a bright light. I mean, she had so much more to do in her life. So
absolutely. A true tragedy.
No, a real tragedy. I would imagine a lot of these precautionary measures could come into play if there was an earthquake as well, right?
Definitely. And also with all the fires in California, somebody had written recently, please make sure to add, what do we do in a household when, like in Irvine recently, I had friends in Yorba Linda, they had to evacuate in minutes rather than hours. And so that would also be included is different scenarios for fire safety.
Absolutely. Speaking of wanting to help, we have a parent who's asking a question here, and we've got 4 parents here with extensive experience. None of us are medical experts, and I need to make sure that I point that out. But Christina would like to know, why does my son act better after a clean out? He just started a dairy-free diet 2 weeks ago, and we did a laxative clean out. He's a totally different child. He looks at us and interacts with us. What can I do to get the same effect without a colon clean out? And first, we have to say that it's imperative that everyone understand that you not give your child laxatives for a clean out unless you are doing it under the direction of a doctor. It's a very specific thing, and it can be a very dangerous thing. You should only be doing that under the care of a doctor. So we want to say that first, but I think each one of us has had different experiences with biomedical and with our kiddos. Anybody want to talk about what your experience is with this?
Well, I think, go ahead, Navah.
No, I was just going to say, with Eddie, I tried it all. I mean, I was a naturalist. I went from the natural perspective. Eddie was gluten-free, casein-free for years, and I didn't feel it did a darn bit of difference for him. But I nursed him till he was 4. So for me, it wasn't about casein wasn't an issue because he wasn't drinking regular milk. He was drinking water when he wasn't nursing, which was constantly. But I had a child with milk allergies, my older son. And to me, there's a very specific, I don't want to get controversial, but there are some kids who that's their only source of protein and fats. And I've seen milk allergies and they're very obvious. You know, it's very obvious when a kid has a milk allergy. So in my opinion, I didn't think Eddie had a milk allergy before he was even tested. And I was right, he didn't have a milk allergy. So when he started to have other things, I did give him cow's milk, and I didn't notice any, any difference one way or the other. The only thing I noticed that's very glaring is sugar. I think sugar makes a huge difference in kids, especially kids like Eddie who have ADHD and autism. Willie doesn't have ADHD, but he's a totally different person when he has sugar. The laxative thing, I've known a few kids who have gone into really serious level, like imbalance and low blood pressure, and their parents had to rush them to the hospital. One kid went into cardiac arrest from laxative. So it's very dangerous if it's not. Yeah. I mean, I think there are natural ways to give kids laxatives. I give my kids magnesium powder if they're stuck up. Laxatives are synthetic. They're very aggressive. And
especially for a child.
Yeah, but there's tons of natural laxatives that you can give your child, not just fruits and prunes, but magnesium powder and certain vitamin C.
I would just also suggest to Christina that you go to a PI doctor and talk to a PI doctor, because the connection is there, and certainly I think that they would be guiding her very well from the PI perspective. To go to a GI doctor. Certainly.
I can remember doing a show with you. I'm sorry, Matt. I can remember doing a show with you a million years ago. One of the first times you were ever on the show, and you were talking about the phrase "happy gut, happy life."
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that 100%.
But I agree with that. I mean, it's true. I mean, look. I mean, you don't have to be autistic, to have a clean out and feel great. I mean, it's a great thing for anyone, because we all need that, and I think.
But I mean, if you have a condition and you're, a clean out can be one thing, but it can also there are incredible amounts of things that go out that aren't supposed to go out, and so you feel really
the good and the bad come out.
Yeah, it's really there's a. I mean, I think you said it perfectly in the beginning, which is, I wouldn't try anything aggressive or synthetic unless you have
doctor supervision.
I mean, I wouldn't try anything synthetic anyway. But
this mom might notice a difference just being dairy free. She's only done it for 2 weeks. So I noticed a difference. Sure. Yeah, I noticed a difference with Wyatt pretty much within a week or so after going gluten-free and dairy-free, because he does have dairy intolerance. And I think his gut was affecting his brain, and he had pretty much stopped talking, and he started talking at the age of 3, going on the GFCF diet. So she might want to just stick with this and see how her son does.
Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a huge difference between like a natural diet or a GFCF diet and laxatives. So I think that there's a certain amount of kids that are really helped by that diet, and there's a certain amount of kids who it doesn't have a difference, and that's with anything in life.
Yeah, I think that's the really important thing, is that each one of our kids is their own little biome system,
right?
And you've gotten some clues now that being on the dairy-free diet for 2 weeks and giving him an opportunity to do a reset in his colon, which I'm sure you're doing with a doctor, has had a positive effect on him, that you're seeing behaviors that you've been wanting to see. So that's a clue to your child. Now, I don't think it's the clean out that's doing it. I think that it's a combination of that whatever was there, you got rid of. So it's not so much about doing a clean out as much as it is maintaining a healthy gut from here on out. And if the gluten, or excuse me, if the dairy, having eliminated that, has already made a difference in 2 weeks, I think that's a clue to your kiddo. And I think that what we have here is like this little, almost like a little study here, because that mirrors what we see in real life, that not all kids do have a great reaction, that you were saying that your kids didn't, Navah, but Nancy's did and mine did.
Right.
And so everybody, but they all had different reactions. And I think that that's important to acknowledge as well. But
100%.
But this is a quality problem, right? It means that you found that there's a clue here, and now you're just going to follow the clue through and see, you're not going to do another colon cleanse because you wouldn't want to do those back to back, right? But you're going to continue on with the dairy-free diet, and I'd love to see where you are in a month, because both Nancy and I, our kiddos started on the path to getting back to language as a result of removing not only the dairy but the gluten. So something to consider. We're almost out of time here, but I'd love to give you guys, we've got about 2.5 minutes here. I'd love to give you guys more time to again give the resources of the Ed Asner Family Center. I know that you guys have a really important gala coming up. I don't know if you're prepared to talk about it yet, or just to say that there's a gala coming up, and more will be revealed later.
Well, there is a gala coming up. It's on December 13th, and it's not to be missed, but I can't talk about it yet.
That's all right. You'd have to kill us.
Are you doing it virtually? Are you doing it remotely?
Yes, but as soon as you hear about it, you'll understand why we're doing it virtually and how much fun it's going to be.
Okay.
We'll
have you back on to tell us all about that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be able to make an announcement, I'm hoping, within a week. If I'm not able to make an announcement within a week, you'll have to find me somewhere else.
Okay.
Then he's going to move to a different country.
I'm going to move to Canada.
No.
We do want to talk about we have a new star on our show, and it's a new addition to the Center at Home programming, and that's Kamina Starr. And you know Kamina, who
we love Kamina, Nancy. You know Kamina.
Tell us about Kamina.
Kamina has been a really good friend of mine for a long time. I met Kamina years ago at some of the walks, but Joe, as you can just hear her saying this constantly. Every time I see her, she'd say, "Did you call Kamina yet?
Yeah,
I can get you guys together. You guys there's magic there. You got to get Kamina. You got to call Kamina." So after the last Autism Works Now fundraiser, Kamina and I got together, and she did. I don't know how to describe it other than she put a spell on me, because I was in a block. I was really in a bad place. And she's a magical person. I mean, she does this energy healing. She does a lot of different things, but her energy healing to me is the most, it's incredible. And I really, really feel like she has the touch. And so when she heard that Chris and I were doing our health and wellness show every week, she came on a couple times, and she's just so incredible. And I said, Kamina, you should have your own show. And her idea was, because she's in the process of finishing her book, and her book is all about self-care for caregivers. So her show every week is going to be a combination of self-care and healing. And it's going to be just an extra way of supporting the community. It's mostly about support for our caregivers, support for our moms, support for our dads. And every week she's going to have a new topic. She's going to be doing little healing techniques on the show. And it's every Tuesday right after Chris and I show from 3:30 to 4. And you don't want to miss it. It's amazing.
And we want to add that she is an autism mom, of course.
Yeah.
She is. So her caregiving is right. She's right, in the trenches with all of us. And she's just an amazing lady, very dynamic. And I think her book is going to be incredibly successful, because she speaks to a community that really, has not been heard and has not been supported as much as they should be. And right now, it's so current and so needed for her to speak up as a strong Black woman who's the mother of this incredible. Her daughter is incredible. I don't know if you saw
They
her,
did the show together.
her first show. I'm going to have to replay it because a lot of people have requested that. And her daughter is brilliant. 18-year-old Kina. And so I think people are really going to respond to this show. And it's something we all need right now because we don't know how long we're going to be in this state of, fear and anxiety. And Tuesday is just, the beginning of it. I don't think it's the climax. I think it's the beginning of it.
Let me ask you something, because a lot of times you have great programming, but it's at a time during the day when I'm not able to be there. And I know that other people, you just said, are asking. So are the shows recorded in a place where we can see them later?
Yeah, everything's on YouTube, and it should be on our website. It's not, it will be at some point.
Okay, great.
And also on Facebook. So you can go back on our timeline, on the Ed Asner Family Center timeline, and you can find everything there. And it's not just those shows. It's Navah and I do a show on Fridays. We have drawing lessons and arts and crafts. And the arts and crafts is one of my favorite things because
Aviva is amazing.
Our art director Aviva does it, and they're so fun and they're so amazing. And it's something that the family can do together.
Yeah, and she's very eco-friendly. She always uses materials that are just right around your house and seasonal. She's doing a lot of this Halloween stuff now, and
we also have in classes that are going on in the center right now too. We have 2 classes that are happening right now. An art music class, which happens on Wednesdays, and an art class, which happens on Sundays.
You guys are doing incredible work. I wish we had more time, but we're out of time. But again, if you have, is there any age limit on who can come to the sing-along? It's for everybody, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, from 4 to, I was going to say 44, but we're both older than that. No, there's no age limit. There's it's whoever can stand in front of their Zoom for an hour,
And once again, that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow from 5 to 6, and we're going to go live with amazing Judy Langdon.
And once again, if you want to join, write Shelby at teafc.org.
There it is on the screen.
Shelby,
and don't forget, it's 5 to 6 Pacific time?
5 to 6
Pacific time. So if you're on the East Coast and you want to come, it's a little bit later for you. But I know my family, we've worked out our Halloween plans around that because I wouldn't miss it for all the money in the world.
That's what I like to hear.
Believe me, you guys do such good work, and it's helping all of us, and it helps to center us. And I know we're all sick of Zoom. It's different when you're seeing these wonderful young people. It is so refreshing. It's not like a business meeting.
They just want to see their friends. I mean, that's the whole thing about Halloween. They just want to show each other their costumes. And, I've been telling Eddie for 3 months that we aren't having that same Halloween party we had at the center last year. And he just actually realized it finally after 3 months and had a total breakdown yesterday.
Yeah.
Because these kids, they don't, it's disappointment after disappointment after disappointment during this time.
Yep.
So,
but I think you're doing exactly what you should do. I know at a point you were talking about doing something in the parking lot in person, and I was talking with you guys about that. And then we were actually on a Zoom call, and little Emily said, "No, do a Zoom call. We'll get to be there longer. We'll get to talk longer."
It's kind of cool to have kids see each other from afar. They can't get out of their cars. So in this regard, they can really take their time and see each other and talk. And I think it's best. I agree with you.
I just lost my earbud. That means it's time to end this show. We're already 5 minutes over. We love you guys. And bye-bye. And Nancy, I'm sorry, I wasn't hearing. But anyway, bye-bye for now. You guys have a wonderful Halloween. We'll see you on Monday. Give all your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me. Bye-bye from Wara and Johnny.
That's right. That's right. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.